Guys, will be starting soon, so you can call your friends or any other people who are interested in it. So guys, we'll be starting at 4:15. Please call all your friends or other people. Please, we'll be starting in 2 minutes. So now we'll start. So good evening, everyone. We are from Kharagpur Open Source Society. My name is Shreyansh Kumar Sharma, and we are here for the Kharagpur Winter of Code Introduction Seminar. So we at Kharagpur Open Source Society are a group of open source enthusiasts, and we present to you our very own flagship event, Kharagpur Winter of Code. This year, it is supported by FOSS United. So let's have a word about FOSS United. So FOSS United is an open source organization which aims to promote open source culture in India, and it was like founded in 2020. And and as you know that FOSS itself means free and open source. So their major goals are to promote the spirit of hacking and tinkering, like building FOSS for public good, and basically they enable and evangelize the use of FOSS in academia and social sector and everywhere. So FOSS United is like one of the forefront players in promoting open source culture in India. And yeah, this year they have partnered with us for providing the KWoC, for basically organizing KWoC. Okay, so what is basically KWoC? KWoC stands for Kharagpur Winter of Code, as we already told, and it has been our annual event, and there has been motivations behind this event. So what is our motivation and what is your motivation? So our motivation is that we as a society love to uh, spread the idea of open source. We love to make people aware about open source, and help them to get introduced to the open source community. So we also recognize the fact that for a beginner, just getting started with open source is like a very daunting task, and we are here to facilitate your journey throughout the open source. And your motivation should be to upskill yourself. Yeah, we have got real world projects. We request mentors to provide good projects, and then students could find good projects and collaborate with each other and have a good experience in learning uh, and building good stuff. So another motivation of yours could be to build a solid GitHub profile. This is where you could start basically using Git and GitHub if you haven't got experience of it before. And if you haven't got experience of collaborating with other people on any projects, like you have worked for your life in like self projects and you do not have worked with people. So this is a perfect thing to start with. You can start collaborating with each other and build new connections along the way. So have you heard of Google Summer of Code? I guess some of you have heard the name, but I am not really sure that you know exactly how it works. So Google Summer of Code is like an international program which is organized by Google, and it is just like KWoC, or I would say KWoC is just like GSOC. It is a ground up. It is built from the ground up to provide the same experience as GSOC. And GSOC usually is a 12 weeks event, and we are here providing it in a smaller version. It is a 4 week event, which is a perfect opportunity to get started and preparing for GSOC. So get started in like 4 steps. So you can have like, the first step is very obvious. We'll open the registration soon, and you will be duly informed with that. And you have to just sign up on the KWoC website. Then you need to find a project. So I request the mentors to provide the projects and students to find the projects according to what your skill sets are and what you can do well. So you need to first find the project and then start collaborating with your mentor and other students to basically build up the project. Then you have to chat with the mentor. This is the kind of the most important part. It is at the very heart of open source culture that you have to collaborate, you have to chat with the mentors and other people, and then you can build up solutions that are really worthwhile. and then you can just get started. Like as soon as you clone the Git repository, you are basically getting started into it. Then you need to get to the issues and find the issues, and we'll talk about them in later, how in detail. How do you do that? Now, prerequisites. So the first and foremost prerequisite is Git and GitHub. You need to be aware about the version control system which is used. And Git and GitHub is, as you know, the most popular version control system right now, and it is what has made open source all possible. So if for a new beginner, we have to explain what a Git and GitHub is. So it is a like a version control system, and it tracks the code. It helps developer tracks their code for changes, and it also helps people to collaborate. Like many people working on the same project could collaborate seamlessly using Git and GitHub. So you need to have some idea about this before getting started for KWoC. And you obviously need some programming. You need to know some languages. We do not expect you to be a very pro programmer. You can just get started, or even if you do not have any programming experience, the coding period begins in December, so you have time till then to learn a programming language or a framework. And in the coming weeks, we will be providing you with resources for various programming languages and frameworks that you can learn from them, and then start contributing to the projects. So your KWoC journey starts from basically today. You have to like learn different programming languages, whatever you know or whatever like you want to learn. You can learn a new language and then start contributing to the then start contributing in KWoC, or you can be like choose your favorite language which you have worked on very well in past, and then you can use them. Even basic HTML and CSS, I would say, is enough to get started for KWoC. So now the major question, how to choose a project. So preferably you should choose the project which has the language and frameworks that you are familiar with. But if you want to take up it as a challenge, you can basically learn a new language in this month. We'll be providing resources, as I've already told, and then choose a project out of your comfort zone. That completely depends upon you on which stage of programming you are. But this is how you get to choose the project. You see the details of the project, what programming languages and frameworks are being used, and upon your interest or whatever, you just choose it. Then yeah, you have to choose the project of the language that you find interesting. And yeah, you can also choose multiple projects. Like you are not limited to any one or two projects. You can basically choose 5 projects to work on, but that depends upon your time commitment. And if you have like time, we really encourage you to contribute to multiple projects as opposed to one. But due to time constraints, you can have like choose one project and build and you can change the project in any time of your journey. Like if you are working on a project and you suddenly encounter a project that you like more than this one, then you can start working on that and basically leave it like in the middle. But we do not encourage leaving it in middle. You should talk to the mentor about that and then leave the project. So yeah, and at the first, while choosing the project, you do not need to completely understand what the project is. Like the project can be very complicated, like it has a very large code base. You do not need to completely understand the project before starting with it. You just need to get the hang of it, what frameworks and what libraries are used in what parts of the what parts of the project, and if you are at all comfortable with them. So you can basically you like if you know front end, you do not need to understand the what how the whole project works. You can only get the hang of how its front end works, and then you can basically decide whether you want to work on it or not. Now from this point on, I would like to invite my co-speaker Ashwin, and he will be taking you forward with it. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. My name is Ashwin Prashant. I'll move on with the rest of the intro seminar. So, now we'll move on to how evaluation will take place. So, one thing which you have to keep in mind is that the importance of a contribution is what matters more than the lines that you've added. So, rather than going behind stats like how many lines you've added or how many lines you've removed or how many uh, additions you've done, you should be more worried about what impact your contribution has. So that is something that we had consider here at KWoC. So another thing you have to keep in mind is that your mentor actually plays a crucial role in your KWoC journey and your evaluations. So of course, your mentor would be the one who will be guiding you with which issue you could possibly work on, and if you're chosen an issue, how you could start with it, and maybe any resources if any. So that, and of course, the mentor has the final say in uh, evaluating and merging your pull requests. So obviously, mentor plays a huge role in your evaluations. So we have two stages in evaluation. First one is a mid evaluation, which will happen around the middle of the coding period. So by this time, you should have at least one successful merge request in the project that you're working on. So of course, one is just a lower limit. Obviously, more are always encouraged. So that was mid evaluation, and at the end, you would have end evaluations. So here you need at least two pull requests merged. Again, that is just a lower limit. This could be in the same project or it could also be in a different project. And along with these, we also have an additional requirement of a blog or a report describing your journey. So this would include like have you heard about KWoC? How did you get started? What are the issues you faced at first? How did they get resolved? Which project you worked on? What did you work on? All that. It would be like a brief, like kind of like a blog which you could upload on Medium or somewhere. So this is also a requirement during end evaluations. So though that was the description of the evaluation. So now we'll briefly go through the timeline of KWoC. So mentor registration for all the mentors will begin immediately from tomorrow. So during this time, mentors can upload all their good projects. And finally, almost 2 weeks later, on 25th, the student registration will begin. Once we have a good amount of projects for the students to register into. So again, around 2 weeks after that, we will start with the actual KWoC coding period, where the students will contribute to the mentors projects and submit pull requests and all that, which will start from 9 December. And we have given a small buffer period till 15 December where students or mentors could still join. But on 15 December, we'll finally close both student and mentor registrations. And 2 weeks after 9th December, which is 24th, we will have our midterm evaluations. Then again by 24th, so you should have at least one PR or pull request or merge request to qualify for the next stage. Then again, around 2 weeks later, we'll have our end term evaluations, which is on 9th January. So by now, you should have done two PRs. Then we would give an extra 6 days to submit the report. Like obviously, the earlier would be better, but we have given a strict deadline of 15th Jan for report. And then finally, in around 2 weeks, we will come with the final result declaration of KWoC 2023. So that was a brief timeline. Now we'll move on to some tips for mentors. So most of our information has been for the students. So some guidelines for the mentors as well. So we have some criteria for project selection. One of them is that you should have at least two open issues on your project on GitHub. So two is just a lower limit. Again, obviously more issues would be encouraged. And you should. This is a very important rule that you should have a proper README, which includes setup and contribution guidelines, so that any student can easily get started with the project by going through the README. Again, another important point is that you should have a communication channel. This could be on Slack, Discord, Telegram, whatever. Generally, we would suggest avoid using WhatsApp because it can get a bit chaotic at times, especially when there are a lot of people. So one of these communication channels, you have to make a channel where the students will join and they'll ask queries and communicate with you. So this is another link that you'll have to provide during registration. So that was it for the mentors. So I'm guessing by now some of the students would have doubts. So here are some of the frequently asked doubts that we have collected from the form responses as well as past year questions. So one of them is that what is the selection process? So one thing you have to know is that there is no selection process at all. KWoC is open to everyone irrespective of their year of study or their college. all you have to do is register once the registration period begins, and you are essentially part of KWoC now. So another question that most people ask is, how can a beginner get started? So if you already know a programming language, for example C or C++, you could always choose a project that is based on that language, and you can move on with that. And of course, if there is something specific in that language that you have to learn for the project, there are a wide range of resources online. Just a simple Google search will fetch you those. But in case you have to start a new programming language, you could start with any programming language you choose, be it C++, JavaScript, Python, Rust, Go. There are a lot of options. You could even do front-end development with HTML, CSS. All you have to do is a Google search, and you will find multiple resources to learn the language. There is no a superior resource as such. Any resource should do well for you. You just have to get started. So again, do I need to learn a specific tech stack? Of course not, because there'll be projects from all tech stacks. So it really depends on which project you are interested in. So maybe for that you have to learn a new tech stack. So obviously that is one thing. But other than that, there's no specific tech stack as such you have to learn. Next question is, will my mentor help me? So of course, your mentor will play a huge role in your journey. He or she will be the one providing you some resources if you require, giving you some inputs on your work, uh, giving you any help on how you can proceed when you're stuck, all that. But of course, you can't expect the mentor to completely help you throughout the process. Of course, uh, there are some processes that you have to go through yourself. Mentor will be there to guide you when you're stuck, but he'll not be always present to help you, if that makes sense. So is this okay, before that, sorry, how much time do I need to devote? This completely depends on your free time, first of all, and how much time you're willing to give for this. If you're just if you're just considering the uh, limit for the criteria for mid and end evaluations, one pull request or two pull requests, it should be quite simple. It shouldn't take much time. But obviously, if you're looking to upskill yourself and go for as much projects as possible, or not as much projects as possible, but as much quality as possible, because quality over quantity, then of course you can devote more time to it. Again, depends on how much free time you have and how much time you're willing to devote. Is this an internship? So we wouldn't call this an internship. It is more like a 1 month open source program in which you contribute to projects and learn. It's not an internship as such, because we are not a company like Google. We are not office workers. We are not employees. You are not entitled to work. It is all up to you. So really calling this an internship wouldn't be right. Finally, will taking part in KWoC increase chances of being selected to join cause? So first of all, let me clarify that this is only relevant to students of IIT Kharagpur, that too only the first year students. So although this is not directly true, obviously if you take part in KWoC and upskill yourself and learn new skills, it will indirectly obviously help during selections for cause. So again, clarifying that this is only relevant for IIT Kharagpur students, that too first years only. Now, let me go through some tips for both students and mentors. So, have clear communication with your mentor. Again, this goes both ways. You have to talk to your mentor no matter what you require. You can't expect like them to help you unless you ask them for help first, right? So, you need to have a good you need to be on good terms with your mentor, and of course mentors have to be open to helping their mentees, even if they're asking some kind of silly doubts, although silly is not a term that you should use for this, but you should still help them no matter what. And of course mentees, you shouldn't feel shy to ask them whatever doubts you have. They will always be willing to help you. And another thing for mentees especially is, you should be open to learning new technologies. Like, even if you know a certain language and you chose a project from a certain language, it is possible that there are some libraries or frameworks or concepts that you don't know yet, but it is required for the project. So you shouldn't just back out of the project thinking that, okay, I don't know this, I shouldn't try this. No, you should still try the project and try to learn that whatever new technology is required, and go ahead with it. Again, your mentor will be there to help. You have a lot of online resources, which is what I will be mentioning my next point, which is that you should learn to Google at any issue you face, and even go through platforms like Stack Overflow. So these platforms are like really helpful in your programming journey. They will really help you debug issues on your own, and this is really one might say that almost more than half of your programming life is spent on debugging. So that is one thing that you'll learn through this journey. So another thing, if you're a beginner especially, you can start with smaller issues. So a certain project might have multiple issues, right? So if you feel overwhelmed by a certain issue, there will always be a smaller issue, which could be a small bug fix or a line change that you could start with just to get accustomed to it, and slowly you can move on to bigger issues. And another thing is that you should properly read the README and the contributing guidelines. And the converse applies to mentors, that you should add a very detailed README and contributing guidelines so that the journey is smooth for the mentees. And for the mentees also, the README would have almost all of the instructions you require for running the program, or instructions about some libraries. So it's very important to read the README. That's another tip. Let's go through the manuals now. We have a student manual and uh, uh, mentor manual. So these manuals have more details regarding your roles as a student or a mentor. So we'll just pause here for 1 or 2 minutes so that you can scan this and access the manuals. These will be later on available in the website as well. So the next one would be, obviously you get better in using version control systems like Git. This is something, Git and GitHub is something that will prove very helpful no matter what career path you choose. Obviously in software development it will play a huge role, but there are a lot of other career paths where Git proves to be worthy. And you get one step closer to becoming a skilled developer, of course. So you're learning a lot of skills that are expected of a good developer through KWoC. So obviously you get one step closer. And as an added advantage, some of the top contributors get exciting goodies. So that was it from us. We'll take questions now. So you can post your questions in the comments and we'll address them slowly. Okay, so some of the queries have come, so I'll just address them one by one. So one of them was, can we come to IIT KGP after a successful completion of a program to receive a certification? So right now we don't do anything as such as in inviting you to IIT KGP or something. But of course, if you complete the program, you'll receive a certificate from our side, which you can of course add in your CV or your LinkedIn or wherever. But coming to IIT KGP as such is not something uh, that we allow. I mean, obviously you can come on your own, but yeah, that's it. Next is this a group project? So as such, it is not a group project, but of course, if you're working on a project, there would be a lot of people also working on the project. So you might have to collaborate with them because, for example, let's say one person is working on an issue which also affects the part that you are working on. So in such cases, you might have to collaborate with them. So in that sense, it is a team project, but it's not like you have to register as a team, if that makes sense. So another question, when were the registrations starting? So mentor registration will start tomorrow, which is 12th November, and student registration will start on 25th November, 2 weeks later. So I'll just show the manual slides for a while in case someone was not able to copy it. So here it is. We'll just stay here for a while. And I think previously the manuals hadn't been updated, but now we have updated with the new version. So, okay, someone has asked, will it be helpful for GSOC? So, of course, like the first or second slide was exactly about this. So, KWoC was built inspired by GSOC. So, it is kind of like you could say an introduction to how GSOC works. So, like by working on KWoC, you get an idea of how GSOC works, and of course, you're upskilling yourself. So, in all those ways. I would say that KWoC is quite helpful for GSOC. In fact, I know a lot of my seniors who are like at great stages in their career right now, whose first experience with programming was with KWoC, and then some of them even went on to do GSOC, and now, yeah, they're like at great stages right now. Okay, someone has asked, is there a Flutter project to work on? So, as I said before, it's like it all depends on the mentors, right? So, we encourage all the mentors to come forward and submit their project. So, luckily, someone with a Flutter project will submit their project. So, you will get a Flutter project to work on. It's not something we can guarantee right now. Okay, someone has asked, will we be taught coding or do we have to be prepared beforehand? So, So yeah, we won't be sorry, you won't be taught coding as such, but we will be sharing resources with you, obviously. And yeah, prepare before, and yes, you'll have to learn on your own. Obviously, you can't expect us to teach you. I mean, in the sense that this is more of a journey that you have to take on your own. Obviously, we'll be there to uh, you know guide you, but yeah, you'll have to learn on your own. And obviously, you can ask your mentors also for help in between. Another point about the previous one about Flutter project. So usually we do get a lot of projects from all domains, around 780 to 100 projects. So usually there would be a Flutter project. So yeah, you can expect a Flutter project this year too. Okay, so someone has asked, will there be a provision for good first time issues and the like? So while the mentors add their issues, they can obviously add tags of good first issues. So one thing is that most of the issues would already be beginner friendly because KWoC is mostly aimed towards beginners. But yes, the mentors would also be encouraged to add tags to the issues. So there would be like issues tagged with good first issues or beginner friendly or something like that. So yeah. Okay, someone asked, what what concepts do we need to know in a programming language before starting with contributions? So, first of all, you need to know the very basics of the language, like variables, loops, conditions, arrays, all that stuff. Then, I would say the rest of it would depend a lot on the project. So, there might be some specific libraries that a project uses. So, that you would have to learn, or maybe a specific framework in case of front end or back end. So, like you can go through the project and see which one interests you, and based on the project you can start learning the certain libraries. So let's say it's a front end project, so you might have to learn React JS, for example. So you could go through tutorials for React JS. Or let's say it's a project related to ML, machine learning, then you would have to learn Python most probably, along with a library like TensorFlow or PyTorch or Keras or something like that. Okay, so someone has asked, is it generally a first come, first serve condition on working on the project, or there can be a condition where multiple people work on the same issue? So, in a small sense, it is a first come, first serve, as in if someone is assigned an issue, like they would be given more priority to work on it. But of course, there would be some issues which are like large scale that could require 2 3 people to work on it. So, in that case, you could collaborate with them, or in fact, even if let's say one person has been assigned an issue, you could always ask them whether they require any help, and you could help them. So in those ways, you can there can be a case of multiple people working on the same issue, but otherwise, mostly if the issue is small, then yeah, it would be like mostly just one person working on it. And yeah, there can, since there are multiple issues, in case let's say you wanted to get a certain issue, so you could try asking that person whether he could switch to another issue so that you can work on it. Again, like you don't have to worry about this that much because there'll be multiple issues. So yeah, that's one thing. When will we get resources and where can I get them? So some general resources such as for github and basic programming languages we'll be sharing through our socials. But for some project specific resources, if in case they are required, then you can ask your mentor to share them once the project starts. But for the basics, for example, for version controlling and all that, we'll be sharing resources with you soon. Someone asked, can more group work on one project? So I think you mean to ask whether multiple people can work on one project, and yeah, that is possible. So first of all, if there might be multiple issues, so obviously there'll be multiple people working, and there will be some degree of collaboration because some of the issues will be overlapping, and sometimes if the issues are too complicated, again there will be a lot of people working on it. So yeah, that's it. So we'll be learning the libraries on the go, someone has asked. So, I mean, in a way, yes, because you can't expect yourself to learn all the libraries in the world. There are multiple libraries for any programming language. So, yeah, if in case you know a library, then well and good. In case you don't, then yeah, you'll have to learn it during the project as and when it is required. And it's not really hard to learn a new library because most libraries have their proper documentations on their website. So you can easily get started with a Google search. Also, if you have any doubts on what kind of projects are there, you can always see last year's projects because we have archived all of our previous KWoC websites. You can easily find that with a Google search. So you will get an idea of what kind of projects usually come. Oh yeah, and we have provided the link in the chat for the previous year's KWoC websites. If you still have any more doubts, you can post it in the comments, in the chat. Okay, someone has asked how to choose projects. So uh, the student registration will start on 25th November. By then, we expect to have a good amount of projects that will be available. So you will have an option to choose projects based on the programming language or the frameworks. They would be mentioned along the project. So you could either choose a language or a framework that you're already comfortable with, or you can challenge yourself and choose some language that you want to learn, and you can try to learn that through the project. So while the project progresses, you will get more skilled in that language. So, and if there are, let's say, multiple projects in a language that you're interested in, then I would suggest you to go through all those projects and see the what kind of project it is, if it interests you, and what are the issues. Do you feel like it is something you could help in? So you can consider all those criteria and choose a certain project. And yes, you can always learn while you work on a project. Like you have 1 month, right? So like if you dedicate your time properly, that should be enough to learn a language or a framework while contributing to it as well. So this was the answer to Debanjan's query, by the way. So yeah, you can learn while contributing to the project. And most of the time, the mentors are helpful enough to guide you through that by providing you with resources or any kind of advice. So yeah. Okay, so someone's asking for the timeline. I'll just move back to those slides once. So yeah, so mentor registration will start from 12th November. Student registration from 25th. Then the actual coding period from 9th December. 15th December would be the end of student and mentor registrations. 24th December would be midterm evaluations. 9th Jan would be end term evaluations. Uh, 15th Jan would be the report submission deadline, which is like the blog. And on 30th, we would get the final results. I hope that's cleared up. Someone's asking what are the issues about. So it's like projects in GitHub have a section called issues. So these could either be some bugs in the project. These could be some kind of enhancements like adding a new feature. This could be something like improving a pre-existing feature. So each project would have different issues. So basically, what happens is in the issue section, either some user of the project or the project creator itself would create an issue and give a detailed description of what it's about, and based on that issue, you open a pull request to work on that issue. So like for example, if it's a bug fix, you fix the bug and then open a pull request saying that okay, this fixes this issue. If it's some kind of adding if additional feature, then again you open a pull request saying I have added this feature. So that's the case of issues. So each project would have a different we would have multiple issues depending on the project's context. Someone's asking only issues highlighted in the README or given by the mentor are to be solved, or we are expected to find our own. So it's like the projects that are registered for KWoC by the mentors. You can only contribute to those projects to be considered under KWoC, but those projects might have multiple issues. So out of those issues, you have a liberty to choose whichever issue you want. Uh, yeah, so you have like to be considered for KWoC. Only those projects you can work on. So which are the projects added by the mentors, but for each project you could work on any issue as far as depending on your interests or your expertise. Okay, someone's asking how can we get the list of the projects. So, like you mentioned in the timeline, the mentor registration would start on 12th November, and student registration would start on 25th November. So, while you register as a student, you will find a list of projects. By then, most of the mentors would have uploaded their projects, so you'll find a list of those projects, and you can just choose one as per your interest. That will be visible on the website, of course. So we'll wait around 2-3 minutes. If no one has any more queries, we'll stop. Okay, someone asked about year of study. So, like we have mentioned before, there is no any. I mean, there is no kind of limit on which year you're studying in or which college you're from. Everyone is free to participate in KWoC. Here's a manual second in case anyone still wants it. Okay, someone has asked how much DSA knowledge is expected. So, like most of the projects won't even involve that much DSA, or in fact, might not even involve DSA at all. But if you know DSA already, then it would kind of act like a base for your knowledge in that language. But apart from that, there is literally zero DSA requirement. But yeah, if you know DSA, then we would expect you to know that language also. So you might already have a good knowledge in that language. But apart from that, nothing. So we'll wait for around 2-3 more minutes. If there are no more queries, we'll wrap up. So I guess there are no more queries, so we'll wrap up now. By the way, in case you still have any doubts or any kind of information still required, you can access our website at kwoc.cosikgb.org. It will be, if it's not been already, it will be posted in the comments also, so that you can access it. And as we mentioned, mentor registration will start tomorrow, and student registration around 2 weeks after that, on 25th, from 25th. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And also, we would recommend that you join our Slack workspace and our Discord server. You can find the links on the website in case you've joined already. We would post any updates regarding KWoC there. So yeah, to stay in the loop, you can join both the Slack workspace and the Discord server.